Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me this morning for some virtual vitamin Z. My name is Claire and I'm a curator of education with the Detroit Zoological Society, and we're here this morning, special and early, to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of World Chimpanzee Day, and it is also Jane's birthday. And I have with me a very special guest, so I'm going to flip this camera around so you can all meet Tami.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tami is one of our associate curators of mammals. And we're going to loop right back out here where the chimpanzees just came out for the morning, and they are checking out a very special birthday cake that was made for Jane. Now, Tami, who is this who's up front and exploring the cake first?
Let me look. Let's see. I believe we have Trixie and Tanya. Now, Trixie's walking up from the back. She has baby Zane with her, which is very exciting. Baby Zane is 7 months old. That's his surrogate mom, Trixie. And in the front there, I think, is Tanya, which is also Trixie's daughter. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There we have little Jane coming up with Akira. Oh, this is very exciting. Everyone's enjoying their cake. Now, this isn't a standard cake, Claire, of course, because while humans eat cake, chimpanzees have fruits and vegetables in their diet. So this is a pureed watermelon cherry concoction made into an ice cake. It's very hot today, which is perfectly lovely for chimps, but that ice will certainly cool them off.
I have to say, I'm so impressed with this cake. I don't think we caught it because it was the first thing to go, but the animal care staff here made the number 2 out of animal puree and froze it. So Jane had a number 2 right on top of her cake, which was really cool.
Yes.
So Tami, how many chimpanzees does the Detroit Zoological Society care for?
Right now, Zane, our newest member, makes a dozen chimps. So we have 12 chimpanzees here, ranging in ages from 7 months old, or 6 months old, all the way up to 50 years old.
And now you can see Jane in the very back here, crawling up. How did we decide to name Jane when she was born?
Well, today is World Chimpanzee Day, which is July 14th, 1960, was the very first day that Dr. Jane Goodall set foot on, excuse me, pardon me, set foot on the Gombe Stream National Park site to study wild chimpanzees. So Jane is named after Dr. Jane Goodall, and we're very excited about that. You can see Jane up here with her mother, whose name is Abby, enjoying the treat. She might be only 2 years old, but she is very comfortable way high up like that in the trees.
I was going to say, she is really far up there. That's got to be, what, 15, 20 feet off the ground?
Yes, and she climbs up there with ease, and she will just hang by one arm, which tells you how strong these animals are.
So Jane is 2 years old today. Oh, and there goes the cake. Somebody else is taking a big old bite out of all that pure.
Oh, look at that. Oh, boy. That's okay. There's many treats here. We also have forage, which just means little pieces of fruits and vegetables for them to pick through and find in the grass. That's a very natural behavior for chimpanzees, to find things, look for them, and eat. So we have things like celery and carrots and little pieces of peas and things like that. And there are also some ice treats, as you can see around, that are like little cylinders that they could also enjoy.
Now, I noticed that the animal care staff came out and put all of these treats out this morning before the chimpanzees were out, and then the chimpanzees came out into the habitat. Do the animal care staff and the chimpanzees ever share the same space together?
That's a great question, Claire. No, these chimpanzees are very family-oriented and live in a group, and they're very peaceful with one another, but they are very dangerous. They have sharp teeth, they're very strong, and they have the ability to harm humans. They are very peaceful with one another, but we are protected. We keep ourselves safe and do what we call shift them. So we do not share the same space, but we get it ready. The keepers go into a safe area and open a door for the chimps to come out and enjoy the day.
Now, do all the chimpanzees, all dozen of them, do they spend their days together in the habitat?
Well, what happens is we give the animals at the Detroit Zoological Society choice as much as we can. So we have 3 areas essentially that the chimps can occupy. There's this habitat. We also have a day room, which is 2 stories tall and very large with all sorts of things to climb on. And then we have a holding area where we can give medicine and do training and things like that inside. So we give the chimps a choice. Most of the time they are all out here together, but if we had a day where, say, one of the chimps or two of them wanted to remain in the day room, for example, we would let them have that choice, and that gives them a better day to make their own choices in their care.
Awesome. So now, are there dominant personalities within this troop? Are there a couple who are in charge, or does everybody take turns being in charge? Or
Absolutely. Now you can see, I'm just going to interrupt for one second. There's Bubbles climbing up the tree. Now Bubbles is 49 years old, but look at how easy she is climbing up in there. She's one of my favorite chimps, a very, very kind-hearted and chimp that loves to play with the youngsters. She's very sweet. She's very smart. Participates in her operant conditioning program really well. She's very picky with what she likes to eat. She has favorites such as cherry tomatoes rather than large tomatoes, or tricolored peppers better than green peppers. So we spoil her and give her whatever she likes because she's so fantastic. But back to your question, the group has a hierarchy for sure. Now, male chimps are dominant in a group. So we have a big male chimp named Imara. We also have another male named Ajua, who's 11 years old. But the females within their own subset have a hierarchy as well. So Zane's surrogate mom, Trixie, she has a very, very dominant personality. She's in charge. She sort of is the boss of some of the other chimps. But yes, they have their own family group, their own dynamic, their own society, and they sort of work it out amongst themselves. It's very great to watch.
Now this is really cool watching her. She's banging the ice treat against the tree to break it up so she can get into the fruits and vegetables that are frozen inside of it. All of the other chimps have moved over to this rock on the other side and are taking apart Jane's birthday cake and sharing it. And she's right in the middle of it, but it's a little hard to see him from right where we are.
Yeah, so Bubbles is using that tree, which is not a real tree, it's made of concrete, and Bubbles is using that as a tool. So she's taking that ice and she's breaking it up on there to get the goodies inside. And you're right, Claire, inside of that ice treat are little peas and little pieces of food, and Bubbles sort of wants those goods, so she's breaking it up. But as you can see, chimps are very strong. That is a very pretty robust piece of ice, and she can just break it with ease, right with her arm banging it on the tree.
Now I'm going to move back over to the other side of this pole for just a second and see if we can catch another glimpse of Jane. She's over here on the rock with several of the other chimpanzees. I know the sun is behind them, so they might be in the shadow, but she's right up there on the left-hand side of that rock.
Yeah, she is quite an easy chimp to see if the guests come to the zoo and would like to see Jane today, because she is a busybody. She is frequently doing Superman jumps off of the rock and rolling down the hill and climbing on all of her family members. So she's really a great chimp to watch, full of energy, as you know youngsters can be. So she's a really great chimp to see.
Now, if anybody has any questions about the chimpanzee, if you want to drop them into the comment box on the Facebook stream, we can try to answer some of those for you. And if we don't get to all of them live, I can come back and answer some of those for you later. We're going to swoop back over here to Bubbles as she comes down off of this tree. Now, this habitat and the habitat behind us where the gorillas are out this morning was renovated back in 2003. The renovation included taking out the moats that used to be filled with water and now having dry moats instead, which gives the chimpanzee some more space, as do the gorillas. And I want you to note one thing, is that how high the land is. So when we are looking into the habitat, we are about eye level or just below where the animals who live here are. And that's really important, that they have that stance, that they can look out, they can see us, and we can see them. And that was very intentional in the design. We're going to swoop back over here really quick. I hope you can see this. They are bashing apart that frozen cake and cutting it up into little pieces here as they smash it and sharing it.
That's great that you said sharing, Claire, because as you can see, they're sort of helping each other. You know, you have a large chimp breaking it up, but the youngsters can take pieces, and they're being pretty friendly with it.
They are.
You know? They're sharing pretty well, which I like to see. That is a large piece of ice, though, but
I'm not sure if I would share birthday cake that well, I have to say.
I agree.
So, Tami, may I ask you, what brought you into the field of zoology? What got you here?
Sure. When I was young, my grandpa took me to the zoo all the time. I mean, when we had free time, we would go to the botanical garden, the nature center, the zoo, and I just remember being fascinated by all the different animals. Not just the primates, which I happen to think are my favorite, but polar bears and birds and bison and things like that. And just growing up fishing and being outside, playing outside. My mom was a big fan of kicking us kids outside to play. And I found being with animals and nature and plants and things like that, that was my jam. That was what I liked to do. And when I found there was a career in a zoo working with animals, I just felt like that was for me for sure.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that adult mentorship role, the fact that adults in your life helped you think about what you wanted to do later and provided you opportunities to explore different opportunities later in life. It's a really important thing to help youth kind of have different experiences so they can explore what they might want to do later in life. Do you have any advice for young people who are interested in animals right now and might want to go into a zoology career like you have?
Yes, of course, there's the standard of do well in school, do well in science and math and things like that. But there are also so many volunteer opportunities for children. There are things that can be done on the internet where just today we were talking about Chimpanzee, which is a community scientist program. On Chimpanzee, people can go, there's up to 5,000 volunteers, can go and look at trail cameras of wild chimpanzees and help scientists by logging information. But for young being in things like 4-H, volunteering at a nature center, coming to the zoo, you can go to czs.org and find opportunities there. Going to a farm, if you know somebody with a farm and spending time. There are lots of different things, but just getting experience with animals is huge. And being around, like you said, people who care about nature and wildlife, those people are going to guide you into the right direction and who care about recycling and things like that. It's a really great, fulfilling career, as you know, Claire.
So we'll post a link to the chimpanzee underneath this live Facebook stream once we've concluded. So if anybody would like to participate in it, citizen science is a great way to be involved in conservation work around the world. There are so many projects out there that we need more information and data on, and that's something that citizens like you and I can collect and share with researchers who then can process the data and make really important conservation decisions and allocate where resources or send resources to where they need to go to make sure that we're protecting habitats and the animals who rely on them. So I'll post that link up into the comment section after this live feed. And let me try getting Jane back in the view here. You can see her on the back side of this rock. Again, the sun's on the other side, so they're a little bit shadowed, which I don't blame them for standing in the shade because it is a little bright out here. But they're splitting up what's left of the cake here and sharing it amongst the troop, which is really neat to watch. All right. So thank you for joining us today as we celebrated World Chimpanzee Day. 60 years since Jane Goodall went down to Africa and started studying.
Was the very first time.
Yeah. A lot of really important research came out of Dr. Goodall's continued work, talking about behavior in primates and really helping us understand these different species. So thanks for joining us this morning for some virtual Vitamin Z as we celebrated Jane's second birthday and World Chimpanzee Day. We'll have more virtual Vitamin Z today that's focused on World Chimpanzee Day. If you're looking for some more activities, live cameras into animal habitats, or other videos, please check out DetroitZoo.org. We have a whole bunch of great opportunities there. And Tami, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to come and chat with us and tell us all about Jane and the chimpanzee troop.
My pleasure, Claire. I love talking about primates. They're wonderful animals.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Until next time, stay safe.